Hello everybody, welcome back. Jiujitsu2000 here today. I'm back. I've got an interesting video for you today. A lot of you know that I am a fight fan. I'm a jiu-jitsu practitioner, I'm a jiu-jitsu fighter. And I'm also a big UFC fan. So this video today is my prediction for the main event in UFC 229. This is going to be held October 6th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, between Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Conor McGregor. This is going to be a very, very interesting fight, and to be completely honest with you, it's very hard to call or to make a prediction on this fight for me. I like both fighters. I love the way Conor goes in there and talks all this trash. He gets in their head, psychological warfare. Conor is just a stud at psychological warfare, and Khabib's not really having it. Khabib is undefeated. He's 26-0. He's never even lost a single round. Conor McGregor is 21-3. The 3 losses that he had were all by submission. So Conor's chink in his loss column has always been submission, and very solid jiu-jitsu fighters. It's crazy. I think Conor has fought more credible people than Khabib has. Khabib has this Russian Sambo. For those of you who don't know what Sambo is, and by the way, he's a 2-time world Sambo champion. Some of you might not understand what Sambo is, and let me try to clarify. And I hope I don't get flamed for saying it this way, but for the lack of a better way of describing it, Sambo is the Russian version of Jiu-Jitsu. It is a very heavy grappling, submission style, wrestling, style. And Khabib's style is a lot heavier on the wrestling than it is on the submissions. So Khabib's one of these guys that he can get you down. If he can close the distance, manage the distance, and get you down, people have a hard time getting back up. Once he gets them down, he keeps them down, and he's very good at ground and pound, very good at ragdolling guys and staying on top position and just putting them in making good grapplers look like they don't even know what they're doing. So Khabib, and that's the big question in this fight, where Conor, on the other hand, Conor's the guy that wants to stand. He's the guy that wants to use his footwork, use his boxing, use his kicks, and use his fight IQ to win the fight. His footwork is phenomenal. Conor's footwork, his strategy, the way he approaches fighting, the unstoppable belief that he has in himself is a very big attribute that he has going into this fight, in my opinion. 18 of Conor's fights have been finished in the first or second round with a TKO or a KO stoppage. He's had 1 submission victory. He's had 2 submissions, 2 decisions rather. So that puts Conor's finish rate at around 91%. If you look at the previous, his record and the amount of fights that he's finished, he's got a high finishing rate. Now, if we look at Khabib, 16 of his fights have been finishes, and 10 of them have been decisions. So 38% of his fights have been decisions, and about 62% of them have been finishes. 8 of his fights were submission victories, and 8 of them were TKO or KOs. Now, if you look at the list of people that Khabib has fought in the last 10 fights in the UFC versus the last 10 fights that Conor has fought in the UFC, I would say that 5 of the last 10 fights that he had were very tough fighters. And 6 of those 10 fights Khabib went to decision. If you look at Conor, I think 8 of the last 10 that he had were tough fighters, and 1 of them went to a decision. So some of the notable people that Conor has fought, and one was Max Holloway. You know, he's a stud. Diego Brandau's a stud. And, you know, when he fought Max, he decisioned him. You know, he won a unanimous decision. He KO'd Diego Brandau in the first round. Dustin Poirier's no joke, and he KO'd him in the first round. Dennis Seaver and Chad Mendez, both those guys are stud wrestlers, very, very good grapplers. And Conor finished both of them by TKO or KO in the second round. And then you take Jose Aldo. He was the featherweight champion. He was undefeated for over 10 years. He was a stud. Novo União, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, submission skills, and he was just on top of the world. Conor caught the weakness and finished him in the first round. That left hook landed, put Jose Aldo out, and just demolished him. Eddie Alvarez was no joke. Eddie Alvarez was a good wrestler, a very, very, very good, solid guy. And Conor TKO'd him in the second round as well. They stopped the fight. The loss in the last 10 fights that Conor has had in the UFC, the only loss he's had has been to Nate Diaz. He lost in the second round with a rear naked choke. Nate Diaz has very high level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So yeah, I wasn't surprised when Nate submitted him. Conor rematched him, took the fight 5 rounds and won a decision. And then, so Nate Diaz is a stud. Now let's look at Khabib. Khabib had some Kamals, I don't even know him. He beat him in the 3rd round in a submission. Khabib won, obviously. Gleison Tibau. Khabib won a decision. Thiago Tavares. First round, Khabib TKO'd or KO'd him. The next 2 fights, people I don't even know. Well, Pat Healy was one of them. He won the decision on those, and then he fought Rafael Dos Anjos. Won a decision on Rafael Dos Anjos. Dos Anjos is a very tough fighter too. And then Daryl Horcher, I don't even know who he is, but Khabib TKO'd him in the second round. Michael Johnson. Khabib finished him in the 3rd round with a submission. He caught him in a shoulder lock. And Michael Johnson, one thing that I noticed in that fight was he clipped Khabib when Khabib came in for the takedown. He showed that he can be touched. Ebson Barbosa was a decision victory, and Alan Quinta was a decision victory. 5 rounds for that fight. So Khabib's a grinder. He can go the distance. I don't think he'll submit Conor. I think he could ground and pound him and maybe hurt Conor, but if Conor can get to his feet, the question mark then is, does he still have the ability to throw those strikes and stay on his feet? It's going to be a dogfight. I think it's going to get dirty. It's going to go a couple of rounds, I think. But again, if Conor catches him early like he does on Jose Aldo, it might be an early night. Here's the thing that Khabib has to do. He's got to be able to manage the distance, close that gap, and get the fight to his comfort zone, which is the ground. The problem in doing that is when you try to close that distance, you put yourself in kicking range as well as punching range, elbows, knees, all these strikes, that range, that distance. And unfortunately, Khabib's been clipped in the process of doing that in a few of his fights. I mean, he's been rocked pretty good. Conor is such a sniper. The way his approach is to fighting, if there's an 1/8 of an inch opening, he'll crack it. You know, he'll nail that opening. Conor's a very smart fighter, and he's very good at studying his opponent. I think the fight starts on the feet. which naturally gives the advantage to Conor, because there's more chances that he's going to have in this fight to do his work than Khabib's going to have, because Khabib has to make a takedown happen before he can do what he's so good at doing. Conor, they just say go, and Conor's already in his element. So just the fight starting, it's in Conor's element. All he has to do is avoid the clinch, avoid the closing of the distance, use his footwork, cut the angles, and I think Conor can do that. And if Conor can find in Khabib's history stuff where he was, you know, the chink in his armor, so to speak, I guarantee you he's going to exploit those weaknesses. If you want to talk about the age of these two people, they're both 30 years old, they're fighting at 155 pounds, their leg reach is 40, so they have the same reach as far as kicking. Conor's going to throw more kicks than Khabib is. We know that. Now let's talk about the boxing reach, the hands. Conor has a 4-inch reach advantage. So not only does he have the advantage of them saying fight, you know, it starts on the feet. He's got that advantage, and he's got the striking distance advantage. And I believe that Conor believes in himself a little more. I just think that it's going to be a bad night for Khabib. I also will put this out there. I think that this is going to be one of those fights that ends up being a trilogy fight. Now here's my official prediction. Conor McGregor is going to win. He's going to finish Khabib. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm wrong though, and Khabib is able to get him to the ground and win a decision. The fight starts standing. Conor can use his footwork, dance around and evade Khabib's takedowns and land his shots. Conor is a sniper with his accuracy. Conor also is the type of person that when he knows the chink in the armor and he knows exactly when to pull that trigger like he did on Jose Aldo, I think he's going to do it. There's a lot of people that I'm talking to that are saying Khabib's going to walk right through him, but they're not seeing it the way I'm seeing it. I just think Conor's going to finish him. Conor's going to be the first loss that Khabib's going to have. And I think this fight's also going to be a rubber match. I think they're going to go, you know, one of them's going to win this first one, and then they're going to rematch, and the other's going to win the second one, and that's going to set up for a rubber match, I would think. I don't think they're going to be one and done. But yeah, I think the advantage on the striking is clearly Conor McGregor. He takes one shot to crack this guy, and I think he can do it. He has a 4-inch reach advantage also going into this fight. That's significant. His footwork, he went up against Floyd Mayweather, who was 49-0, one of the best boxers to ever do it. Conor came out of the UFC, went into the boxing realm, and went 10 rounds and almost stopped Floyd Mayweather. So Conor has footwork. He knows his timing. He can land shots. He's gonna finish Khabib. That is my official prediction for UFC 229. I hope you got some good, useful information out of this video. Please leave a comment down below and let me know what your thoughts are. I want to know what you're thinking. And thank you for stopping by. And until next time, we'll see you. Have a beautiful day. And this is going to be an epic fight. There's a lot of bad blood here and a lot of history, and the whole thing with Conor throwing that hand dolly through the bus, and it's going to be crazy. They're billing this as the biggest fight in UFC history. However, I don't believe that. I think they say that every time. But it is going to be an epic showdown. I think it's going to be a dog fight. It's going to be dirty and down to business. And in the end, when the dust clears, Conor's going to have his hand raised, in my opinion. Thanks for watching. Later.